Hey everybody, Justin Underwood here, and I hope you're having a marvelous day. It is the second episode of Local Wisdom, live with you here on Facebook and maybe other platforms in the future. But I'm here with my friend James Douglas, and it's our desire to be your source for local wisdom in real estate. And so that's why we're doing this. We generally do it on Mondays, but this weekend was Memorial Day weekend, and I don't think either one of us were available. Were we, James?
Always available for you, Justin.
What was your Memorial Day weekend like?
Actually, we're going to talk about that in the top 5 here in just a minute.
Oh, you want to? Oh, okay. This guy's been show prepping.
Yes.
He's got his weekend saved. Well, for me, I took my father-in-law to the World War II Museum in New Orleans.
Is that the first time you've been?
First time I'd ever been, and to do it on Memorial Day, they had a Pearl Harbor exhibit there. They have a section there for Pearl Harbor, obviously, but they had another special exhibit there, and it was a bit of an emotional day, to say the least. And then to learn some of the things that I didn't know.
It's a very solemn place.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many different things. I don't want to say something was bigger than another, but things that I didn't know going into it. You know, you've got the names that we all know, you know, the U.S., Germany, Great Britain, France, and Japan, but I didn't realize Russia and China actually lost the most people. I had no idea. And but it was very significant. Didn't know that the U.S. military ranked 19th in military size going into World War II, tied with Romania.
Wow.
Yeah, and to see in a matter of years what the U.S. produced in an effort to really save the world, in a sense. It was amazing. But anyways, it was a long weekend, but it was a good weekend. It was a good day to remember.
Sure.
And that's why it's Tuesday, and we're doing our local wisdom today. So it's it's the Business Week Monday.
Yes,
right?
That's right.
Well, as always, James and I think about, what are ways in which we could bring some local wisdom to you guys, specifically in real estate. And it's hard to get over the thought of, at some point you're buying your first piece of real estate. And that can be different for everyone. And I would say for the most part it is different for everyone. And not everybody's starting at the same place in life when they get ready to buy their first piece of real estate. And the vast majority of people, your first real estate purchase is your home.
A house.
Yeah, I was laying that up to James, and he's going to slam dunk it, and
No.
he didn't take it.
Yeah, I mean, very, very few people are going to buy a commercial piece of property or an investment first before they buy their own house. So definitely a home is the first real estate purchase.
So I was thinking, a way in which we might could bring some wisdom to this topic is maybe just to share our own experience first.
Sure.
And I like that because, and I'm curious, I haven't heard James' first home buying experience, but mine was filled with a lot of hope. And, I think that's really where people are generally at when they're looking to buy their first home. Like they're hoping that it works out. Can it work out? Is it possible? Right?
Yeah, I actually know Justin's story. And like he said, ours are different.
Yeah.
And even the thought process behind what we were thinking. You want to go first?
I'd be glad to go first. And so my home buying experience, my first time home buying experience, let me say it more clearly, is the fact that I'm a young dad, young husband, age 19 and 18, and have never lived out of the home yet. Like, I'd never rented and didn't know if home ownership was even a thing that was possible. And I got to share a little bit of lead into this story because one of the things you got to have is credit, right? And let's just say I didn't come from a family of credit. Let's just say it that way, okay? And it wasn't taught for me. But I was working at Brookshire's Grocery. I was overseeing the frozen food department. I would call myself the frozen food manager, but that's really not a thing. They just said, Justin, it's your responsibility, okay?
Yeah.
And
take ownership, man.
I'm sitting there, I'm stocking the frozen goods, and this guy named Barry Wall comes up. Do you know Barry?
I do not.
Barry Wall was a banker at OIB.
Oh, I do know Barry.
Wonderful local bank that is, not with us anymore. There's remnants of it left in Bancorp South, but a wonderful local bank at the time. And Barry was like, hey, look, if you can get me frozen baked potatoes with cheese and I think maybe sour cream, he's like, I'll make you your first loan. I was like, done, because they were no longer stocked. So I call over to Tyler, Texas. I get the product number. I get it ordered. I get it shipped. I get it on the shelf. And the next time I see Barry Wall, I literally run to him and drag him to the frozen food aisle. And I said, there it is, right there, top shelf. I can still see it. And he said, well, come to the bank and see me. And he made me my first loan, $3,000.
Wow.
And that's how I began to build credit. So fast forward when I've got a baby on the way, I'm a young dad, and I'm like, I need to buy a house. So who do I go see? I go see Barry Wall. And he looks at me and goes, well, we can't help you. You need to go see a mortgage banker.
Right.
You need to go see someone who specializes in this industry. Of course, they can help people buy homes, but a 19-year-old with one trade line, like that's likely not going to happen. So he sends me to a lovely, lovely lady, Glenda Brown, who was working for National City Mortgage at the time. And she began to help me. And long story short, she's like, hey, look, I can qualify you for $58,000. And so I started talking, like, hey.
How many years ago was this?
Further context. See, James is such a great host of the show here. This is 2002.
Okay.
Wow, I'm getting old. This is 20 years ago this year.
He was 12 then.
I was 12. So 2002, to be more specific, this is September of 2002. And at my church, somebody said, hey, look, my brother's getting ready to sell his house, and it's 1 block away from my mother-in-law's. So I go knock on the door. I pull up, knock on the door. This guy opens the door, and I go, hi, I'm Justin Underwood. I heard you're wanting to sell your house. I'll give you $58,000 for it. And he's like, whoa. He's, slow down, young man. Do you want to see the inside first? Well, what he didn't know is it had a slab. It had shingle roofs. It was brick. These were all upgrades from anything I grew up in, so I didn't need to see the inside. I already knew it was better than anything I had. And I went inside, and it turned out it was a really lovely, clean, well-kept home. And he did. He sold it to me for $58,000, and that agreement occurred in October, and we closed on November 6th. And the thing that I took away from that is that I had some really special people in my life, thankfully, that helped me do something I didn't even know was possible. But the other side of that is I have no idea what happened. Like
that part of our story is the same.
I got through the process, and the way I've described it, it was like someone had locked me in a dark room and told me to find an object I've never seen before. I'm like, is this it? Like, what's supposed to happen? What's supposed to happen next? And so, my big takeaway is that there's hope. Like if you were in a situation like me where you had one trade line, didn't have a history of home ownership in your family, there are people out there that can advise you and help you. But also, I would like to see people know what they're getting themselves into and understand what's going on in that process.
Sure. And I would say from being on the outside of your life and your business, that your experience leads you to do some of the things you do in everyday life.
Oh, there's no doubt. The reality is I could likely close more loans if I didn't have the mindset of, no, I want you to know what you're getting yourself into. I want you to make an informed decision. And look, there are a lot of lenders out there like Miss Glenda who's like, son, you don't need to know. You're 19. I'm getting you in the house.
Sure.
Which was fine. It worked for me, and she actually did. She served me really well and did my next 2 home loans. She was amazing.
I was actually 10 years older than you.
Okay.
When my first buying experience happened. I was 29. The year is 2006.
Oh, wow.
I have 1 child. I have another one that's going to be here the following year. So we're buying
You're
a home.
expanding, yeah.
Yeah, and we had never owned a home. Alice and I had gone from an apartment I went to grad school in New Orleans. We lived in an apartment there. We moved 8 days before Katrina hit from New Orleans to Georgia. And the church I was working for gave us a house. We had a parsonage. We lived in that house for a year and decided we needed, just for our sake, to buy a home. And we had another kid on the way. It was, it was going to happen. And so we had no idea. We just knew we wanted a home. We didn't know anybody. We were only a year into that community. And so we asked the people that we did know, like, I need a real estate agent, I believe, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know anything about this. So, my daughter's friend used somebody down, and we just called her up, and she started showing us houses.
Okay. You didn't know this person at all?
No.
Okay.
And today I still don't know her name.
Wow.
She sold her house for us after we moved too, but that's probably another story because we moved in 2008.
Yeah. Have y'all ever heard of a housing crash?
Well,
that was 2008.
Well, we bought at really what amounted to the height. Like, my house was never worth more than the day that I bought it.
Right.
But through that process, we knew we were going to have a loan, but I didn't have any connections with the bank. I mean, we just, we had a national bank and we'd use the ATM. And so I didn't have connections with my bank. I didn't know any loan officers. I didn't even know there was such thing as an LO.
Got you.
And so we leaned on our real estate agent to do that purchase, and she pushed us to a bank that was in her office, kind of. It was not a good situation. We had saved for quite a while. We had a big chunk of money. We were going to put down on the home, and then we were told, oh, no, you're going to need couches and chairs, and you got a baby on the way. You're going to need diapers. So we're going to do something for you and have a zero down loan. Like, I don't think we took but a few $100s to closing, kind of thing. But it was weird, Justin, and I've not been in the I've not seen people do this, but they gave me an 80% loan at 6.5% interest. The other 20% they did at some balloon payment thing. I was paying interest only for 7 years.
What a terrible loan.
Yeah, for the 20% I was paying interest only for 7 years, and there was a balloon payment on that.
Which means the balance didn't go down, and then you owed all of it at once.
Right. So I was going to owe $20-something thousand in 7 years in this balloon payment. What I was told was, we'll refinance and work, which, okay, that's fine. I just didn't know what was going on. And we were also told, you probably won't live in this house in 7 years anyway, so it's not a big deal. Turns out that was right, but I almost owned the home 7 years from then because it took me over 2 years to sell it.
Oh, wow.
It sat on the market so long that my wife and I took over $20,000 in cash to closing to sell it.
Just to get rid of it. Goodness gracious.
We tried all kinds of, 2008 happened, and it was, we were living here in West Monroe and trying to pay rent, and it took us a while to recover from that. We could have let it go back to the bank. That just wasn't who I was. So it would have been much more of a financial, we would have been financially better if we'd have let it go back to the bank.
Right.
But we chose not to.
Good for you.
We sold it. And we bought multiple pieces of property since then. So.
Yeah. That was only getting started.
Yeah.
So what is your big takeaway from your home buying experience?
Well, similar to you and how your interaction with the loan process, and it is influencing how you, my interaction with our real estate agent is influencing how I do business today. We really leaned on her a lot, and we got very little understanding. We knew that we were buying a home, and that's about the extent. We knew when certain things were going to happen because they happened, not because we were told ahead of time that they were going to happen. We didn't understand the closing process. We didn't understand the market at all. And when I help my clients now, that is in the back of my mind. Not all real estate purchases are good purchases. And so I want to make sure that my clients are hearing and know everything they can. None of us can know everything about every real estate purchase, but we need to know as much as we can.
To your point, I very vividly remember that, if I call my loan officer, I may bother them, or I may say too much, or there was just this hesitation and fear of like, I have all these questions, but I don't want to call and get the answer because then I may mess it up.
Right.
And what I would say to you, if you're that person, like, you've got to ask the question. Like, and I use this language. I say, hey, look, I don't know what I don't know that you don't know. Like, so I need you to ask me. Even if it's late at night, just shoot a text. You're not going to bother me. I'll wake up to it. It's not a problem. But I need you to ask the question because I'm going to share with you what I think you don't know, because that's what I want to do to serve you. But I won't know that moment that you didn't actually hear it, it didn't settle in, or you didn't understand it, to use your word. So please, 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 if you're out there, ask your loan officer, ask your realtor questions. Don't hesitate.
Yeah, because there are a lot of moving pieces when you go to buy a home. Mm-hmm. And Justin and I are doing this on a daily basis, and we understand at least we think we understand most of the pieces that are going into this. And so it's an everyday process for us. Well, and so there are so many things happening at once. Sometimes we may communicate that with you, but there's so many other things going on at that time that it didn't sink in. Please, your real estate agent, your loan officer, whoever they are, like, it doesn't, call them. Mm-hmm. If they're with somebody else, they won't pick up and they'll call you back. If they don't call you back, find a better real estate agent.
Right. Yeah. So, well, communication is key when it comes. I'm going to point more to the realtor here in this situation because there's significantly more communication that happens between the home buyer and the realtor than any other relationship. And your realtor is what I call the relationship manager, meaning if you think the word agent, they're acting on your behalf as if they were you.
Yes.
But they're doing so with all of their skills and abilities and training and relationships and networking. All of that is what you're tapping into when you have an agent. And so you're sending this person out there to operate on your behalf. Well, they need to know what you need to know. Like, they need to know what questions you have as they're going out there to operate on your behalf.
Absolutely. No, the more your real estate agent can hear from you, the more they know, the better the whole relationship's going to be, the better the whole process is going to be, from beginning to end. And most likely, you're going to be able to get into the home that suits you best. It's not going to necessarily be the biggest, nicest, but every person has a home that's best for them. Yeah, and that's how I approach every situation. What home is best for you, and then let's go determine what that is. Mm-hmm. It may not be the home you like the most. Right, that's the problem. And so we all have things on our checklist that we have to push to the side whenever we go to buy a home. Sure, I would like a man cave in my home, and maybe one day I will have a man cave in my home when I get kids moved out.
Back in the day, way back in the day now, the thing that I always thought was most overlooked when people were buying a home was the pantry. Yep. They're like, wow, nice kitchen, blah, 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 and then they move in, like, where are we putting the trash can? Where's the food going to go? And it's like, oh, it's just got a small pantry. To me, that was something that was often overlooked, but that's a side note there.
There are a lot of things that are overlooked.
Yeah.
And in my experience, my first home experience, there was a lot of things that we overlooked. And, by the grace of God, we were able to get through that without any issues. There are a lot of people that were in a similar boat to me that did not get through that as well.
And it's that shiny object that causes you to overlook it, what I'm going to call a new construction.
Yes, it was new construction.
Yep. You see a new construction, you see nothing else.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, wait a minute, where's my stuff going to go?
Yes. No, it really was. It was a brand new home. It was our home. Nobody else had lived in it. Yep. It was ours, and we loved that home. I got on my hands and knees in the grass and picked out every little thing that wasn't grass.
Did you really, James?
Oh yeah, no, I did. The entire front yard. They put some sod down, and it had it had stuff, and I got on my hands. And I loved that house.
Yeah.
And that house would, in many ways, would function well for us today.
Mm-hmm.
It probably wasn't the best purchase for us
Right.
at the time.
Well, look, that happened to a lot of Americans in that time, and there is a lot of context there. The housing world, the banking world is a very different world now than it was back then. But I think the big takeaways that we would like to offer for you today is, number one, work with someone locally that you trust. I mean, obviously this is local wisdom. I can't say local wisdom and not advise you to do that.
Right.
Work with someone that you communicate well with. That you have an open dialogue with. And I'm pointing more to the realtor, and that is also true for your lender, for sure. But I think it's especially important with your real estate agent.
Well, I would say that you are always going to pick a local real estate agent.
Mm-hmm.
Just by the nature of the job, you're going to find somebody that is in the area, that knows the area, just because that's who's there.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, the lending side of things, that's not necessarily the case. You can use a lender that's behind a telephone that you never see. And I always advise my clients, make sure that you are comfortable with your loan officer.
Yeah.
And I would say somebody that you can see face to face at least once.
Here,
And
it's not so much that you have to see your loan officer.
Right.
Here's what I would add to it. Like, you could run into them in the grocery store, and they got to be able to look you in the eye.
yes.
That's the part I think is important, because they're going to be held accountable for the way they treat you locally.
Yes.
Because they're going to see you and they're going to observe you out in the marketplace, outside of the transaction. And to me, that adds a layer of protection for the borrower. But definitely, I think a local lender is important. A lot of people don't know this, but well over 50% of every residential mortgage that's recorded in Ouachita Parish is with an out-of-town lender. It's well
Really?
over 50%. Yeah. So a lot of people
That's disappointing.
are taking that option, and hopefully it'll work out.
Well, I think the shiny object thing, there's good marketing on their part, and they think that they're getting the better deal. And I would just ask somebody to actually look at the numbers, and they are not getting the better deal. So,
Right. And then outside the numbers, the strategy, the advice,
Yes.
the long term connected to it. So we have probably gone pretty long already.
Oh yeah.
But I think it was
Justin and I
useful.
like to tell stories.
But as in every week, we want to bring you a top five. The first week we brought you the top 5 sales in the Northeast Louisiana Board of Realtors. Am I getting the name right still? Is that right?
Yeah. No.
Okay. All right, Nelba. And we got it again. So, James, you have that list pulled up?
I do have that list pulled up. And so this week has 2 properties in it that are similar.
Okay.
And probably would catch somebody off guard if you just look at the address. But number 5 is in Ruston.
Makes sense.
On Oak Alley Drive, 185 Oak Alley. And it's sold for $449,900, which was only $900 more than number 6 if we would have put number 6
I
on
just want to
it.
say Oak Alley and Drive in Ruston just sounds expensive.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a nice home, and it was only in the market 47 days. That's prime. That's knocking it out of the park right there.
Yeah.
It is a price range that specifically in northern Ruston that is highly sought after.
Yeah.
So,
I can see that.
but number 4 leads to my story
Okay.
of what I did this weekend. Well,
Oh, I
all right.
see it.
If you know where Homer, Louisiana is, good for you. It's in Claiborne Parish.
It's barely in Northeast Louisiana. Let's say it that way.
It's half actually. So today we are going on complete extremes of Northeast Louisiana.
Yep.
This is the most western part of Northeast Louisiana.
Let's just say this almost isn't local.
Almost, but it's only an hour away.
Yeah.
And how would I know this? Because this is where I spent my weekend.
Oh, man.
This particular 266 Methodist Camp Road is on Lake Claiborne.
Wait, you spent your weekend in this house?
Not at this house.
Okay, just making sure.
No, I do not have anything quite this nice. I have a little hole in the wall camp, but I was on the same lake.
On the same lake.
I
Okay.
was on the same lake as this. So that's what I did this weekend. But this is a 3,000 square foot house.
On the water.
On the water.
Lake Claiborne.
It took it a little while to sell. 190 days, 191 days.
Well, hold on. I've got to challenge you there.
Okay.
That's actually not a long time for a recreational property, right?
That's true. Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah. But this home actually could be this is a certifiable house.
Got you. It just happens to be on the water.
Yeah, this is pretty much on the upper end. If anyone's interested in Lake Claiborne, there are a lot of more affordable homes on the lake, and so you can come be my neighbor.
Yeah.
But if we had put number 6 on the list, it also would have been on Lake Claiborne in Homer.
Wow.
And so they had Lake Claiborne had 2 in the top 6 this week.
Impressive. Good job, Lake Claiborne.
Yeah. All right, Monroe. This is no surprise. It's a very well-known road. Number 3 is West Deborah Drive, 2700 West Deborah, coming in right at $500,000, $499,900. That's
Par for the course.
yes. And people in Monroe know where West Deborah is. It's a nice home. And also 5 bedrooms.
Yeah.
So would have been.
Well, you got people working from home.
Sure.
And so, of course, you got your normal needs for bedrooms, but bedrooms needing to be offices now is a big deal.
Oh, well, sure. I want to work from home, but Justin wants to be here.
Yep.
So, this number 2, if there's a picture up,
It's fancy looking.
tell me you would spend $500,000.
Well, you're getting 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2,155 square feet heated.
That's over $200 a square foot,
It's sold
Justin.
fast. Is it a typo?
No, it is not. However,
Added a 0?
so this is 2130 Highway 606 in St. Joe. If you know anything about St. Joe, well, we went from Claiborne Parish. This is Tinsall Parish. This is about as far away from each other, Lake Claiborne and Lake Bruin.
Lake Bruin. Really nice.
Lake Bruin, this is very typical, actually. This is typical of the type of home that's on the lake and typical of the price.
Well, you have a history of land sales over 200,000. Well, and the word land probably lands over there with you as larger. We're talking about lots.
Yes. So, I mean, this particular one had just about a half acre with it.
Half acre.
Yeah. So, but this one did have a guest house. That little thing off to the side.
You mean the shed with a window unit?
They labeled it as a guest house, Justin.
Question.
Yes.
Do you think this was purchased for recreational use or income producing through like an Airbnb? Because it would make that little accessory unit add a little more.
Yeah, it is possible. I would venture to guess that price, how quick it sold, I would assume somebody was looking for a camp.
I would say the Airbnb community has added an element of buyers into the recreational properties that was not there 3 years ago.
Yeah, no, they probably use it for themselves, and they definitely could Airbnb it on the side and get good money for it, especially this time of year.
Changes the economics, especially when you're able to still maybe get long-term financing for it.
Oh, yeah. And in this particular case, they could have 2 separate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 2 separate dwellings, so to speak. So they definitely could make some money on the lake. And it's a really nice, like it.
It really is.
That if y'all go pull that up and look at the pictures,
They bought the view.
It's a Northeast Louisiana view of the lake. It's really nice.
That's
so.
awesome. So number
I'm
one.
going to let you pronounce the name
great.
of.
I knew this was coming. I knew he was going to do that. I can handle it, I think. 6 years of speech therapy, has to pay off or something. 1433 Toulouse Drive, Monroe, Louisiana.
Yes, thank you,
about
Justin. And it sold quickly too. $522,000.
Yeah. I mean, gated neighborhood.
Sure.
Is as well situated in terms of convenience as any neighborhood, period, off a Tower Drive, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's a newer home. It's nice. I mean, it really is. It's a North Monroe home.
Yeah. This is another par for the course, expected, type sale that we're going to see here
Right.
in Monroe.
But if you were tuned in last week, we had two homes that were over 600,000, and we mentioned that 2 weeks ago we had two homes over $1 million.
Yeah,
the week before that.
Does that mean the market's dropped to $500,000 in 3 weeks?
Well, some would say, but no, that is not what that means. But these homes, these are not homes that are selling 20 a month.
Yeah.
Like it's not, that's not happening. There's not that many of them on the market to begin with, and so it's just the ebb and flow of the market. And we'll see homes $1 million being sold this summer. We'll see some weeks where there's we may dip below 500,000 as the high.
Yeah.
Before the summer's over. So
Well, and to begin the show with our first time home buying experience, my home was nothing like these. Yours?
no,
Yeah.
it was new, but it was half the size of that.
Right. And so those homes are available.
Sure.
They're out there. If we made a list of those homes, it would be hard to come up with a way to do it. Like top
Right.
5 what?
Yeah. It's empirical data.
Yeah.
Where would you draw the line?
Exactly.
We've talked about doing a top 5 lake homes, and we almost had it this week.
Almost had it. Yep. Now, Lake Holmes is interesting. We didn't mention a couple of other lakes that I think are important. We didn't mention Caney Lake, and we didn't mention Lake Darbon.
Darbon.
They're out there. The properties are out there.
And there's a wide range of prices on those. Like I live on the bottom of Lake Claiborne as far as price, and then that home that we saw here in Homer is
Right.
closer to the top, but there's homes even more expensive.
Would you rank the lakes? Do you have a thought?
I have thoughts, but most of mine is with Sportsman's Paradise in the back of my head. So the fishing has a big deal about it. But there are some lakes that are more conducive for water play, and Caney, Lake Claiborne come to mind for both of those. Bruin, obviously. I can't afford Lake Bruin, so
Isn't it so far away?
it is. It feels like it is anyway.
Yeah, to me
it takes
anyways.
a little while. So, but there's a lot. Maybe this summer we can delve in a little bit more to local lakes.
Yeah, and bayous.
Well, there's all kind of water. I mean, they're really small. I haven't like Lafourche.
It's funny you say that. There is a lot of water. There's not a lot of water in West Monroe.
That is true.
You got Shinny Lake, but the problem is it's not. You almost can't boat up to it.
Yeah. No,
There's different types of water. Maybe we'll get into that another.
maybe they'll finish the bridge at Cheney at some point in our lifetime.
All right, guys, this has been another episode of Local Wisdom. We're 2 in, and I'm already having a really good time.
Yeah. No. So that's good.
Yep.
But next time, send your questions in. If you want to go ahead and comment on any of this, we can get your question next time as we go through this, and it'll be next Monday, not Tuesday.
Yeah, next Monday, 7:45 a.m. ish.
We got the kinks worked out now, Justin.
We
good.
did. We're live directly to Facebook. You don't know how big of a deal that is to us, but
Well, tell them where we're at, Justin.
yeah, we are at Louisiana Catalyst here in Monroe, Louisiana. This is a place where this room right here that we're in, the podcast room. I'm just now seeing the name on the door. Could be available to you. Reach out to Quentin Durr. You can find him everywhere, unless there's work involved. If there's work, he's not around. But if it's social media, he is.
Yes.
No, we love Quentin. He's a great asset to Origin Bank. And yeah, if you need me for any of your home loan needs, feel free to reach out. Happy to assist, answer any questions. And James, here's a fine local real estate agent who communicates really well, as you can tell.
I try.
Yep. All right, guys. Thank you very much. And as always, I hope you have a marvelous day.
Thank you. See you next week.